Hello, my name is Leland Chilson, and I'll be discussing 5 years of unemployment in Ireland. We can all remember what the world was like 5 years ago. There were big changes in international economic status. People worldwide were not ready for what was about to happen. Businesses shut down, and people were laid off. Kids sent home from school were forced into online learning, and working parents were further affected. This all led to a quick rise in unemployment in 2020, which continued on through 2021. COVID led to unemployment hitting 7.2% by August 2020. This dropped down to 6.2% at the end of 2020 before spiking back up to over 7% again January 2021. This spike lasted through May of 2021. April 2022, it had finally dropped down to 4.5%. Since then, the unemployment rate has fluctuated between 4.5 and 4.1%. The seasonal unemployment rate currently sits at 3.9% as of February 2025, lower than at any time in the last 5 years. Some of the current drivers for unemployment over the past 5 years are COVID-19, as previously mentioned, the issue of recovering from the pandemic in Ireland, tourism, and by extension retail sales are still struggling to get back on track. Additionally, technological advances have replaced physical labor, causing additional layoffs, and the affordable housing shortage prevents workers from having a place to stay. Currently, there's a shortage of 250,000 homes. The housing shortage is further exacerbated by the influx of migrant refugees and asylum seekers, causing an even greater drain on the supply. Brexit has been another factor playing against Ireland, with supply chains being affected, causing additional losses in employment. Ireland instituted an economic recovery plan to address the current unemployment issue by attempting to find jobs for some 2.5 million people by 2024. To combat the housing shortage, Ireland instituted the Planning and Development Act of 2021. This is where the government is attempting to remedy the housing crisis, building 33,000 homes a year between 2021 and 2030. In addition, the Local Housing Authority Home Loan Scheme allows applicants earning up to 70,000 euros a year to borrow up to 90% of the value of the home, reducing the required down payment. Uses for this include purchasing a new or used home or renovating properties eligible for the Vacant Property Refurbishment Grant. In addition to this, the Pathways to Work 2021 to 2025 Act, which involves training or retraining of the current workforce, as well as work placement assistance and subsidies up to 10,000 euros each for employers who help to get 75,000 currently long-term unemployed off the unemployment list. Based on the data from trendingeconomics.com, the threefold recovery plan has been successful in reducing the unemployment rate to the lowest average in over 10 years. Potential improvements to the plan would be to focus on renewable energy technology education projects. With the global push towards green energy, this would help focus training to meet Ireland's goals. Considering the need for advancing technology, moving to an all-digital input and storage system in several sectors like nursing and housing would streamline processes and bring new opportunities. Heavy oversight over all their plans and feedback from stakeholders would help keep processes from getting bogged down or make adjustments after data analysis. And finally, proposed policy recommendations are that investing in technology nationally would improve opportunities for younger workers. They almost always seem to understand the latest tech. The ability to use what they already know would make it easier to incorporate them into the workforce. This strategy would have short-term benefits, encouraging younger workers to get more involved. Drawbacks would be the initial expense and unknown return. Investing in education, providing technical training opportunities at the high school level, and making secondary education more accessible would improve employability in a long-term scenario. This would be a potentially expensive investment, however, the returns on investment would be across the board higher. Incentivizing employers to hire from unemployment services, especially small businesses, would help in the short term to allow these businesses to employ those unemployed but looking individuals, bringing them back into gainful employment. This would put more people to work instead of paying for them to be unemployed. That would put more money back into the system over time. And focusing on renewable energy would potentially be a long-term solution for fossil fuel usage and driving down the carbon footprint in many areas. The drawback to this option is the huge expense in not only the finished product, but also using up finite resources, while recycling of the current green energy options does little to help the environment. And finally, independent oversight is a much needed short-term and long-term issue. Oversight is necessary, but having it be independent would ensure lower occurrences of fraud, waste, and abuse that would occur within internal oversight, which tends to overlook things. Thank you for joining me for my report on 5 years of unemployment in Ireland.